Well, thank you all so much for joining this chat. Is Insider Talk with Shutterstock. Um, and today we've got Jazz Garner, who's the director of global social media marketing at Shutterstock. So amazing, and I'm so happy to be chatting with you, Jazz, on this session. And I'm sure that everybody here is going to get so much value out of being able to just like speak with you and hear from you. Jazz is also an Emmy award-winning producer and has previously worked within TV, so ABC News, CBS News, A&E Networks. And she's also an excellent mentor and coach for ArtBound Initiative for our program, helping to coach students in terms of their, career journey within marketing and also, helping them to understand how they can develop their careers. So super happy to have you here. I'll let you do a full intro of yourself and tell us your whole story in just a second. Just quick, who am I? My name is Ben. I'm the CEO of ArtBound Initiative. So we're an internship program for aspiring, content creators, designers, film and TV producers, marketers. We've placed over 1,000 interns, in companies within the creative industries over the past years. So, our experience is really on those junior roles and thinking about how you develop your career and how you think about, next steps within university and post-university as well. Just a little quick rundown of how today's session is going to go. And for those of you that were on the call yesterday, you already know. First we're going to talk about Jazz's career journey. Sorry, y'all, if you don't mind keeping on mute. First of all, we're going to talk about Jazz's career journey and how she got started, and we're going to ask some questions also about some advice, and then we're going to talk about ArtBound Initiative briefly and what we do, and then last we're going to finish with an open Q&A session for Jazz, and that's where we're going to go through all the questions that you have. We'll try to leave as much time as possible for that. So I'm going to stop sharing screen here. And let's get started. Maybe Jazz, I'd love to just like, if you could give us an intro, tell us like, how did you get into this role? Like, tell us the story. Like, tell us how you made it to where you are, and yeah, how your career developed. Would love to hear.
Uh, it's been a long journey. I I guess I got to go back to college undergrad. I majored in agriculture business because I thought that I wanted to work for the USDA and be a loan specialist for farmers in underserved communities. But as I interned with the USDA and the Department of Interior over the summers while I was in college, I realized it was quickly not for me. But I was a senior in college and I couldn't pivot right then and there. I was like, well, I graduate like in a semester. So I decided I'd go to grad school to do something I really wanted to do, which was media and journalism. So I went to grad school at NYIT and it was excellent. I got an internship at a small production company called NBTV from Craigslist. I do not recommend Craigslist now, but back then it was really good. And the only thing they paid us in was an unlimited Metro card. But that one semester internship really shook things up for me. I got to work on sets doing production from music videos to live reality shows, which also helped me land an internship at MTV, which I had applied for every summer when I was an undergrad and got denied every time because I had no production experience. So I finally got some production experience, and then I got an internship at MTV, which then led to me being a weekend social media editor for MTV while I was in grad school. And that was very cool because I got to work the VMAs and all these other really cool shows that were still on MTV when it was a thing. And then when I graduated from grad school, it was really hard to find a full-time job. So I started looking for jobs that was taking recent grads as interns. And ABC News 2020 was doing that. So I applied. You could intern with them up to a year after you graduated. So after grad school, I interned at ABC News Live, which was their digital show. So I did a lot of clipping and short reeling and writing articles for our digital platforms. And then I got to work with Peter Travers, who's a movie critic for the Rolling Stone. So that mixed in the entertainment of it. But then my internship ended and they offered me to intern at 2020. 2020 is long form docu-style type news. And I got that internship and I stayed there for about 7 to 8 years. I went from a intern to a PA to an anchor's assistant to an associate producer. And towards the end of my career at ABC, I produced on a show called Soul of a Nation, where I wrote, traveled, and shot with a crew this show, and we won an Emmy. It was very exciting, very exciting. And after I did that, I was like, you know what? I want to leave hard news, but I want to stay in media just a bit. So then I applied to CBS, and I got the job there. And I went from an AP to a manager over a group of like 9 social media producers. And I did that for a year and a half. And then I decided I want to leave news, period. But what can I do? I only have news experience, production experience, social media experience. And I did 1 year at Morgan Stanley to do digital strategy because I had digital experience. So I was looking online, and Shutterstock had an opening for a senior manager for social. And I looked at the job description and I felt like it was everything I did, but it wasn't dedicated to social. So I got an interview. I had about 4 rounds, and it worked out. And now 2 years later, I'm director of social globally, and I really love my job. And I think every job that I did before, something there gave me the skills to move into this position, which was like project managing. Storytelling is basically marketing. And so for me, when I was being interviewed and they said, so how can what you did at the news help us in marketing and social for Shutterstock? And I said, it's essentially the same thing. It's just a different audience. It's just a different way you spin the story. It's kind of like what you're going to get in CNN, you're not going to get at Fox. You just have to adapt to your audience. And that's what I did. And here I am. And I loved it. And I think that's enough, Ben.
That's amazing. Sorry. Yeah, I think you've had such cool career trajectory because you've worked for so many amazing companies. Like I look at your LinkedIn and it's just like Morgan Stanley, Paramount, CBS, ABC News, Shutterstock. It's such an incredible resume. And I think that a lot of people probably on this call and also in our program would only aspire to be able to work for one of those companies, to get started. Like, all of them are incredible. So can you give us a little bit, just for the context of the call, I think it'd be nice if you could give us a little bit of, background on like Shutterstock. Give us, for those, I think we all know Shutterstock, for stock imagery, but I know that they do so much more. And so I'd love to like hear a little bit about Shutterstock kind of in brief. You just moved into the role of director, so congrats. But like, what is your role been for the past 2 years? Maybe it's been a short time as director, but what does your role encompass, and like what types of things do you do?
So I'll start off by saying, yes, Shutterstock is known for stock, and sometimes people think I work at Shutterfly. That is another company. But Shutterstock is known for stock imaging and video, but we also have an editorial team. Like if you go to a red carpet, you see Getty, you most likely will see Shutterstock images as well. So we do SAG Awards, we do Sundance Film Festival, Tribeca, all the big things were still there as well. We also do immersive 3D production because we have an in-house studio that does CeraVe commercials. We did a perfume commercial with Olivia Rodrigo. Like we have that side of Shutterstock. And then we also have Pond 5, which is another subsidiary of Stock Images. And then we have Premium Beat, which is royalty-free music. And then we also acquired Giphy within the last 2 years, which everyone knows is GIFs. And then we also acquired Envato and Backstage and a lot of other smaller companies. So Shutterstock is kind of like this creative powerhouse of not just stock images, but AI tools, which is Gen Pro. And then we have immersive 3D. And then we have 3D rendering. We did the opening for House of Kardashian. Like Shutterstock has been doing a lot of things. We also do games. We did the Perfect Match game and the Outer Banks game for Netflix. And we are working on and the Premium Beat game. I mean, not Premium Beat. What's the Korean one that everyone loves and it just had its final season? Squid Games.
Yeah.
We did the mobile game for Squid Games, which is very exciting. So Shutterstock has a lot going on. And for me as social, before I was even a director, my day to day is I would meet with each facet of our company. Like I meet with Marketplace, which handles like AI and all of our marketplace like stock images. Then I would meet with the studios team to see what they have going on the ground. And then I'll meet with the events team for announcements, public speaking engagement of our senior leadership. And I would form an entire calendar in Airtable with my direct report. It's 2 of us on my team. And we would say, okay, this is what's happening this month or these few months across Shutterstock. How can we promote these the best way we can on social? And what people need to realize is social is not a revenue generating role. So it won't make or it won't make or break the bottom line, but it will make or break a brand's presence, which is a big deal. So my job essentially is to create good brand awareness around our brand, what we offer and what we can do for you. So I like to look at social as marketing, but just digitally. I'm just putting billboards that you would see outside online, and it's very fun. I get to travel. I'll travel to the SAG Awards, and I got to do red carpet interviewing some of my favorite celebs, your favorite celebs. At Sundance, we created a whole chalet room where people could come take selfies and get a portrait, and we would also post those as well. And for more serious things like SeaGraph, this tech AI kind of weird conference, we get to go see people do robotics and things that they're using for AI that we can pitch back to companies who ask for AI data from us. So my day-to-day is a lot of meetings, a lot of project management, a lot of Google Docs, but when I'm on the ground, it's a lot of fun. I do edit it sometimes myself, but when you work at a big company like Shutterstock, we have an entire creative team. So I get to produce still. I will sit down with our video editor and say, hey, these are all the clips I grabbed. This is also the clips our cameraman got. This is what I want. This is the storyboard. This is my script. And then we kind of go back and forth as we prepare to put this out. And obviously, it goes through all the channels. I look at it, brand looks at it, and legal if we need. And the best thing about being the director of social is like you are the last call for all of it, which is fun. Maybe you want to put some quirky scene in there and someone says, oh, but I really don't like that. That's okay. I do. And I can put it out. But there always is one person who can tell you no, and that's the CEO. But he likes my work, so I think I'm good.
That's awesome. Um, well, it's just it feels like there's so much being done. I mean, you said it yourself, there's so much being done by Shutterstock, right? So and a lot of different kind of like brands that it oversees. I'd be curious to know how you I mean, what I'm most curious to know is like how you adapt to different social trends and how you're still allowing that to tie in with a brand in some way. Like, of course, things rapidly change, and you want to stay on beat, and you want to stay, relevant, but you also don't want to be doing, you know, something that's not tied to the brand or the brand's identity. So how do you adjust to that, and how do you think about that without kind of like chasing something that's not Shutterstock?
Great. Fortunately and unfortunately, we don't chase trends at Shutterstock. Our comms lead does not like us to be reactive when something happens. Obviously, I wish that I had the reins like Duolingo, but that doesn't work for my brand. My brand is more B2B, more creative, small businesses. So when we think about a campaign and how we're going to stay trendy, we kind of just ask our audience what they need. We send out these things called brief, and we'll say, hey, as a contributor here, what do you need? What are we missing? And then we use that to inform decisions for our customer base. And then the product team says, okay, they asked for this. Let's sell this. Let's test this. And then I'll say, okay, but our social audience is a little bit more creative than the audience who talks the budget and the bottom line. So we have to make this fun. It cannot be boring. Like a couple of years ago, we finally got vertical video in stock. And they're like, oh, can you just make an announcement? Just tweet that we have like vertical video out. And I was like, nobody's going to care if I tweet that. We need to show them why this matters. Why do they need vertical stock? Because sometimes people can't get to their next destination. They need something ready right now. So we made this really cool video with some of our drone artists too, like, hey, this is what we can provide vertically in case you don't have time to clip a 9:16 for your TikTok. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of TikToks have a lot of paid B-roll in it from stock companies, including mine. So sometimes when you think that things are authentically created, somebody's already created it for you, and then you can go to a place like Shutterstock and get a one-stop shop thing. So all that to say is like we don't really follow trends. We kind of go based on data and evidence about what our audience likes. And if we want to get to a new audience, then we do a brief out, we do focus groups, and then we kind of hold down on A/B testing. We'll put it in one market and say, hey, actually, this market didn't like this, but this one really did. And then we swap and we just keep going till we find that right little corner parking space that we fit in.
That's great. That's great. That's really helpful. I think what I'd like to kind of move in towards now is some of the skill sets that students need or recent graduates need, or should think about if they're looking to target uh, eventually within a career as a goal to get to the level that you're at or the type of role that you're at. Um, how should students be thinking about what types of skill sets that they need to build over their career? What should they be focusing on right now? Like, what advice would you have?
So for me, when I was looking to pivot from journalism and production into tech social marketing, the thing that kept popping out to me is that everyone wants a built-in project manager. So, and that might sound easy, but it's actually very hard to juggle a case of projects more than one at a time. There's multiple docs, there's multiple editors, there's multiple people. So my skill of being a PA and an anchor assistant, I was like made to project manage. So that was one thing I harped on in my interviews. I'm like, I'm very organized. This is how I get things done. Also, you have to know how to use your life skills before you turn to AI. Like we are very AI forward. We're not shying away from AI. Shutterstocks, we have great partnerships with AI companies like 11 Labs and Nvidia. But the thing is, my sea of people and sea of people in my context, the thing is, everyone's running to like AI now. Yes, learn everything you can about what AI can do for you, but you need to learn the skills first. Because to really utilize AI, you need to know how to do it yourself. It's supposed to be a helper, and that's a big deal because you can usually when we take on a project or have a freelancers, we can tell if someone actually knows how to do it versus having AI fill in all the blanks. Because it doesn't get everything right now. So my biggest thing is learn how to do the hard skills first. Know how to use Excel spreadsheet, know how to do the formulas. And once you know how to do it, if you do use AI assistance, then you can correct what's wrong. And AI is moving rapidly, but I still don't think it's gonna push past needing people. And I think we believe that at Shutterstock as well, because they also help us train on it. They're like, hey, we want you to know how to do this, but also we know that you can do this without this. So now we're giving it to you as a supplement. So that would be my advice. Try to be organized, project management, learning hard skills before turning to AI. And also, I know it's hard, and we went through that period when nobody was seeing each other and talking to each other, but really got to ramp up those social in-person networking skills because they will stay with people for years. There was a girl who was an anchor assistant when I was a PA at ABC. She left ABC. She went to Fox, then she went to CBS. 7 years later, she told a CBS recruiter to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I had not talked to this girl in 7 years. And she said, Laura Molinari said, you were a great organized intern. She think you'd be a great manager. And I got the job because somebody from 7 years ago remembered my notebook. So it's like, you never know who's watching. You never know who is seeing the skills you have IRL. So really hone on that. Don't think because someone did something fast with something else that your slow and steady and surefire way won't get you where you need to be. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think you're bridging in the topic here of AI, which is something that I want to talk about specifically with you. I think everybody's trying to kind of figure out which direction all of this is going, at every level. You've got like CEOs that are trying to figure out how do we integrate this and compete. You have, educators that are looking at like, okay, how do we make sure that students are well prepared? And then of
Mhm.
course you have students and recent graduates right now who are probably feeling a lot of anxiety around it and thinking like, okay, now what? Like now how do I adapt, especially if what I studied was graphic design or what I studied was content writing, and AI is now able to do those types of things. Not necessarily well, but they're able to do those types of things, right? Um, what are some of the skill sets that you think that students should be focused on or graduates should be focused on if AI is able to do a decent job at, some of the more basic tasks or some of the more I don't want to say basic tasks, but what I mean is the things that AI is trained on. Like AI is trained on writing and it's starting to get okay at, design and video and photo and stuff like that. So then if that is able to be kind of like a lot of that work is able to be produced there, then what should students be focusing on in terms of their skill sets to be relevant within the job?
That's a good question. It also depends on the job.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, I will reiterate learn the hard skills first, because even if, say, AI can do your design, AI is still going to be a computer. Even when the most advanced AI who seems human, you always know it's not. And I will say AI is getting really good. There's been a couple TikTok videos where I'm just like, and then I have to literally go to the comments for somebody to tell me it's AI. So it is getting good. It is getting good. However, I think that the human ability to storytell will never translate.
Mm,
And just looking at social media and the world around us, consumerism is built on entertainment.
mm.
AI can't entertain. It's stiff, it's boring. No matter how much input we put into it, it's never going to give you that human feel of entertaining marketing, which will drive dollar sales. I'm not trying to pitch you guys to buy anything from me, I promise. But the way these companies work is they work on revenue. And if AI can't get them the revenue that they are seeking, they will go back to regular workers, people who can bring money in to the factory, quote
Yeah,
unquote.
yeah,
Um, so learn how to do the skills you think AI knows because it's not, it's always going to be evolving. There's always going to be a risk of something being down. Like I remember one week, I think Gmail and Slack was down for like half a day. Our companies went nuts. Like, but but if you know how to do your job when things are offline, you can still progress. So
yeah,
that's the biggest thing. Don't like my nephew, he wanted to do computer engineering. All of a sudden, he wanted to change his major because he's like, I'm not going to have a job in 5 years. I'm like, they're still going to need engineers to run these machines.
yeah,
The code is not writing itself yet. We're not in that dystopian iRobot just yet. So you
right.
still need those skills. And also a lot of countries, even big European countries and East Asia companies and South Asian companies that are big as New York and LA, they aren't pushing their workers to do that. So if you ever want to work internationally too, you need to know how to do things a little slower. Prime example, Japan, they still use fax machines. They're not using AI to send, emails here and there. Like they still are using hard people skills. So I think also it keeps your brain young and keeps you rewired to know how things actually work. And I think a lot of employers still value that over machine learning, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely. And somebody asked here because we're not to questions yet, but I think it's relevant here, in your experience, what things are AI not well versed in. And I just wanted to kind of like add to that first, which is that um, you know, by design, AI is based on historical content, right?
Mm,
And by design, it's generalist. So the two things that it's not good at, by design are creating things that are really truly new,
mhm.
or new ideas that haven't been based off of something that's, I mean, we all create ideas off of things that have been done before, but it's not going to have that little tweak of human experience that you had specifically, right? That brought that specific idea out. And secondly, it's sorry, I said generalist and also historical. So it's generalist, right? So it's not going to have that specificity of like, oh,
Yeah.
I understand the history of this client, but I also understand the context of the situation and how do we create content around that that's meaningful and relevant and new and fresh and maybe out of the box, right? So I don't think it will be able to do those types of things anytime soon because of the way it's designed, and it may push trends in a totally opposite direction of like seeking authenticity, seeking
Mm.
things that are individual and unique in some way, right? But yeah,
I also, yeah, and I also think that it can't, like you said, it can't be specific, but also it's built to create answers and situations based on the person that it's talking to.
right.
So I feel like AI
Like
is
built to
never,
satisfy in a way.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's always going to give you an answer that you're going to feel okay about. So
right.
it's like it's a trick of the trade. You need to know what actually works and what they're just cheering you on for. Like, oh, you did real good, girl. Like ChatGPT, like I was using it for a while, and all of a sudden it got this personality, and I was like, I literally go, who talks like that? I didn't teach you that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, do you want me to tone it down? So I'm just like, how about you not? So you also
Are you
it
giving me
will
sass now? No, I'm just kidding.
exactly. It's gonna turn on me. No, no,
Yeah.
no, I can't. It won't have it'll to me, AI will always be an echo chamber.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult when you want to live in the world of creativity and like not doing things that have always been done and always being ahead of trends and ahead of what people are already thinking because it's always going to say this is good, you don't have to change anything, you're perfect.
Yeah.
So I think it can't get specific, and it can't really be creative enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I heard somewhere, and I like this analogy. AI is like a team of really good interns. It's like it's gonna get the job done and it's gonna do it quickly and it's gonna do what you asked, but the content it's not quite right yet. Like the it doesn't quite understand the client situation yet. And no offense to interns, but like you still need some more experience before you're there, right? So like it's kind of that situation. And I really like that analogy. I don't want to be like overly ignorant of the situation or also overly optimistic and say that, oh, everything's fine. Like it's not going to impact workforce at all. I
No,
definitely
exactly.
think that it will be having a big impact on workforce and especially for juniors and interns. So, and that's not to give anxiety here. That's just to be realistic in terms of what it might do. So the question then comes around, how do you adapt your not how do you adapt, but what are the skill sets that you can bring to the table if AI can do X, Y, and Z? Then,
Mhm.
I would say tap into your individual experience, right? Like what are the things that you've experienced personally
Mhm.
that AI hasn't experienced or a generalist system hasn't experienced that you can bring? What's your story? Like how do you also bring like a nice culture to the company, right? Like, AI is not
Yeah.
bringing any office culture, like how do you bring in a nice flair to the company that people want to work with you? So, it's definitely will become more competitive and
Yep.
that will be a challenging period, I think. But then learning how to bring some value outside of what AI is doing, I think is really good. And I do think that it's going to push us more towards authenticity and more towards genuine storytelling. Rather
I
than the other way
agree with
around.
that. And I think you're right on it, Ben, when you say it can't bring your experiences because a little note, when I got my job at Shutterstock, we have this work thing called Workday where you can see all your work history and stuff in it. And they gave me, I guess, high level permissions and they fixed it later. But I saw the note from my manager now when I was being interviewed. And the note said, I really like this girl's resume, but she only has news, production, and finance experience. I don't know how she will translate to the world of tech. I think she made a good decision because I have
Yeah.
transferred.
She only has experience at great big companies, like not really sure how this is going to translate over.
Exactly, which is true. Like, how do you get from journalism to production and tech? And I was like, I used the skills that got me all of those:
Yeah.
project management, bringing my own experiences with people, how I read audiences, and also I'm like, I'm a great team player. I'm always willing to learn. I'm always taking new challenges. So just don't be afraid to pivot. I pivoted in my career so much. Even my friends were like, you need to find something to stick with. I was like, well, I'm not going to stick with something until I like it. And it has gotten me to so many incredible places and all the people that I've met along the way. Like this is not on my LinkedIn, but I worked at the Whitney Museum of Contemporary Art for a short stint one summer after I left Morgan Stanley because I was like, I might love working at a museum. Crazy, I know. And I worked at this museum as a visitor service person, and my boss, Kyle, who was awesome. In the short few months, we got really close. And now he works at the Tiffany and Co. Gala and on Fifth Avenue. And he knows that I love the city of Tokyo. And he said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to do my job in Tokyo that I do in New York. Can't do you know anyone?" I didn't know anyone personally, but my contacts who I've met through work in Tokyo knew someone, and now they're in their interview pool. So you never know where your experiences take you. I worked at the Whitney for like 4 months. But me and my old manager got really close and he moved on to a better job. And he just like, I'm going to access my network. And that's my network has gotten me almost every job that I've had.
Yeah.
So always remember who you meet, but don't make it like you only want to get something from them. Genuinely want to know what they're doing and how you guys can collaborate and how you guys can make it a beneficial, mutual relationship and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I love that. I love that. Yeah. And it so echoes what we say a lot, which is just that like, that internship that you do, that first job that you do should be about getting like just get one person in your pocket who really
Yeah.
likes you and vouches for you. That's it. And if
Yeah.
you And if you do an excellent job, whether or not you hate the job, whether or not it's your career for life, whether or not you think that, this is the company for you, or that the hours are tough or whatever, just get one person who's like, by doing a great job, get one person who's like, oh, this person is awesome. Like I really want to work with, Jazz
Yeah.
further, and then they're going to be that person who's going to be like, you know what? I see that you're looking for something. I got this friend over here. And then you start to build, it starts to compile, and you start to build more opportunities that are available to you. And hopefully you never have to cold apply to a job again. But
Well, yeah.
That's the goal, right? And that's why cold applying is tough too, is because everybody's got somebody that they know, then they rather use somebody that's been referred instead. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm going to just take a quick pause, really quick, and just talk about ArtBound Initiative. It's take about 5 minutes. And for those of you who are in the program right now, I see a couple of you. You can, take a little breather, grab a coffee or something for a minute because you already know all this info. But we're going to talk about ArtBound Initiative just for 1 second and who we are. And then we're going to come back to questions. In the meantime, put your questions in the chat, like any questions that you have for Jazz. I'll try to get through all of them. So I love like lots of questions. So just like anything that you have about Jazz or about our program or about like getting started within in the career is great. Cool. So let me just um, get this sharing here. Okay, awesome. So, ArtBound Initiative, we've been around for 10 years. We're a global career accelerator for creatives. What that means for us is that, we are here to support students and recent graduates within creative industries to getting their career started through an internship. We do so much more than the internship. The internship is like the end goal of what we're doing. Our program is all about helping you prepare for your career, getting your resume and portfolios together, getting your foot in the door, getting an internship, and then having all that support around it. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. There's many destinations that you can go to through our program. We've got 5 in the US. We've got New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, and Austin. And then we've got London and Berlin, and then Melbourne and Sydney in Australia. And then if you want to do something virtually, there's plenty of opportunities for that, especially within marketing or production. There's a lot of different virtual opportunities if you're not in one of those cities and you don't want to leave. Um, Different types of internships that we offer within marketing and advertising, which is probably most people on the call here. We've got social media management, we've got content production, photography, also marketing, advertising strategy, etc. You might also be somebody who's really interested in design, like graphic design, branding, doing motion design or content creation. And then similarly, like entertainment and media, if you're into like production, post-production, music business, VFX, those are all things that are offered there. And we also have fine arts and fashion, but I imagine not many people on the call here are within those two categories. So plenty of internship types that you can do through our program, and I'll walk you through how that works as well. A few program inclusions. We've got 4 main things. One is the ABI Academy. 2 is a guaranteed internship placement. 3 is our creative network. And number 4 is dedicated support. So our ABI Academy, it's designed to help you prepare for the internship and for the recruitment process. And it's a necessary component of what we do because this is what we're about. We're about making sure that you have the skill sets to land a job, but you also understand how to do it for yourself, right? So that you can take this forward in the future. There's 2 different components, and this happens prior to your internship itself, but after you've joined us, within module 1, you'll be working on your profile. So that means resume revamp, portfolio revamp, interview practice sessions, and also preparation for the recruitment process. So you understand how to work with recruiters and how to respond and types of etiquette. Once you finish that first component, we'll start sending your profile to all the company partners that are relevant to your destination and internship types. And then you'll move on to module 2, which is helping you prepare for the internship itself. This all together is a combination of like content to read online, videos to watch, and then live sessions like this that you'll be speaking, with coaches, that you'll be getting video feedback and other things. Jazz is one of our coaches as well within the program. And none of it is busy work. It's all boiled down from placing 1,000 interns within the industries, like really the best content that you can have to make sure that you're going to be successful. And this is also designed for full-time students. So, it's not something that will take up like 40 hours a week for you. This is maybe 5 to 6 hours a week in the beginning and then kind of mellows out for module two as you're preparing for the internship. Our industry experts and advisors, got Jazz here, of course. We've also got Vanessa, who's a senior recruiter for Aquent, which is a creative recruitment firm. Kevin, creative director for Tracy Loke within Omnicom Group. Michael's a designer for Ralph Lauren. Jen with MTV and Paramount, and then Justin with Warner Bros. This is just a few of our industry experts. We have many more, but just kind of a little highlight sample of some of the people that we work with to help coach you. Number two component of the program is a guaranteed internship placement. We do want to make sure that if you're choosing our program, since we are a tuition-based program, that you have a guarantee, you have something that you can rely on as part of the program. So we're really good about getting all of our participants placed, and it's a lot of hard work from our side to make sure that your profile is really strong, and then also to really be building company relationships that we can get that resume to the top of the stack and push them to say, hey, please interview, please move forward with an offer, so that you have somebody from us to help kind of push things forward. Internships with us range between 3 to 6 months long. So you have a choice of 3, 4, 5, or 6 months. It could be part-time or full-time. You could do it for credit, or you could just do it for experience. One thing to note is that we can't guarantee a paid internship opportunity. We really wish that we could, but we're actually quite small program, and it's still one of the realities that you're going to face whether you go through our program or you go individually. That being said, we're going to build the strongest potential profile for you. And hopefully you can secure a great opportunity. And if it's paid, that's an additional benefit there. We just want to make sure that we're very transparent about that from the beginning. And then lastly, 60% of our participants have actually been hired post-internship within their companies that they interned for. Some company partners that we work with, just a few highlights. Reflex Group is a creative agency in New York. I'm not going to go through all the different internship types. You can read that yourself. Factory PR is an ad agency in LA. Raptor is a marketing agency in London, and Studio Vanti is a creative agency in Berlin. So just a few examples of some of the companies. Excuse me, I'm going too far here. A few examples of some of the companies that we work with. 300 plus partner companies around the world. Lastly second to last is support. So if you're going internationally, we handle the visa application processing for you, insurance. We have housing arrangements that are available to you optionally. And then you're also getting into the orientation. And other than that, you're getting support all the way through from the interview and recruitment preparation and resume and portfolio reviews to the actual placement process itself and getting placed into a company. And then just like support all the way, making sure that you are comfortable in an internship and that we're checking in with you. And then lastly, those in-city coordinators who are there to give you an orientation, do events with you, with all of our participants and alumni. And then there is an emergency contact. And last but not least, you have access to our creative community. This is our app. It's got all of our alumni there. We've also, a great place for you to start your network and just like connect with a few people and find a couple people that are, that are interesting to you and that you want to become friends with. You've got events that are done in each of the cities that we do, and then also workshops and industry talks and things of that sort that are exclusive to our members. Some of our alumni have gone on to move, work for incredible places. I think that's speaks volumes to the both, of course, their work ethic and their amazing abilities, but also to the ability of being able to build up their, profiles and start a successful career through us. Let's talk really quickly about, I'm almost done here, program tuition. Our local program. So if you're doing something within the US from the US, or if you're doing something virtually, or if you're in Australia doing it in Australia, it's $22.50. And then if you're going internationally for the internship, it's $32.50 for that extra support. That includes all the 4 components that I mentioned. It doesn't include like visas or housing or flights. Those are all things that are separate fees that you'll need to pay for by yourself. But this is for our program tuition itself. And we do offer a grant. So this is for financial needs-based students or recent graduates, between $500 up to the full program fee for our local and virtual programs for applicable applicants, which you can check out on our website. And then how to apply, you actually are going to go to our application page. I'll actually just take you there right now. You're going to go to our application page. So on our website, artboundinitiative.com, you can just hit apply and then just put in your application there. Quite simple process. I'd recommend to just go and check that out. But first step actually, is just to go here on our eligibility form and fill out and see if you're eligible for the program in general. And that will get you on a call with our team, and then you can apply afterwards. We do have application deadlines upcoming on October 10th. So if you get a chance, I'd recommend for you to go ahead and pop in an application and check out our events, our further events, which are up here in upcoming events. And the next one that we have around marketing is with the CeraVe marketing team. All right, cool. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen then and get back to questions. I see we've got nice, questions here coming in.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, Abel messaged me saying, hey, when you're dealing with an intangible business asset like brand presence, how do you communicate the necessity of your work and how are you measuring effectiveness?
Brand awareness. So luckily for me, I have leadership who believes in social and believes how powerful social is, especially in 2025. So I don't really have to convince them that we need to do something for social. What I do need to convince them is that even though I can't do a return ROI of money, I can give them a ROI of people are talking about Shutterstock and what we're doing. So when I want to do that, I come up with an idea, a brand, or a strategy, and I take it to our events team or our comms team, the people who also do PR for us. And I say, hey, I know that we're kind of just a sponsor at this place, but what if we take it up a notch? And most recently, we were sponsoring a Cannes Film Festival, but we didn't really have anything to do. We are just sponsoring it. And my brand strategy team lead was like, I want us to do something on social for Cannes. And I'm like, what can we do in Cannes that's fun? And we were also going through a rebrand. And now Shutterstock, we have this whole new logo and our new tagline is Fuel Great Work. So we sent a team down to Cannes. We did Man on the Street right there, all these huge companies. And we're like, how do you feel great work? What if you were a part of the Shutterstock ecosystem? And we met with all these cool people and they gave all this great advice on all their videos. And we chopped and screwed those and distributed them everywhere. And some of the people were like, hey, can I actually have this? Can we put this on our website? So you have to just convince them that what you're doing will get them talked about in the best way. I don't believe that all good press is good press. That's not something I like to use. I like to say good press is good press. And we measure our effectiveness by social media analytics tools, like how many people went to our website from a certain link, how many people are talking about us on Reddit, on forums. So we have a tool for social listening that will comb the internet to see what people have said about us, even the bad stuff, if someone has anything bad to say. So we get to see what people are talking about in real time. We also see if we get any earned media presence through PR, which meaning we didn't pitch to anybody. Like this company said, hey, this is really cool. We're going to write an article about you guys. That's earned media. Like we didn't have to work for that. So we measure it on how the audience and the media world perceives us. And I hope that makes sense.
That's great. Yeah, I think that was really clear and appreciate that kind of answer. It's one, I think it's probably one of the challenges of some roles is that you don't always have like revenue as a way to say like, oh, that's my contribution, right? A lot of roles are indirect. So that's really interesting. I'm not going to hit all questions, so I'm sorry if I skip some of yours. I'm going to look for ones that are kind of relevant to everybody here and are also relevant about kind of getting into the workforce. So I'll try to get to everything. Wendu asked, as someone who transitioned from journaling to marketing, what advice would you give someone with interest in digital marketing, but in a different major in college?
So my major was also different. I went from agriculture to journalism. And I kind of just, when I applied for grad school and the work that I did, a lot of people say cover letters aren't needed these days, but for someone like me who likes to pivot, a cover letter is essential because I need to lay out why I took the jobs I did, how I think that the experience from those jobs could benefit the new company. So whatever skills you learn in your current major and you want to transfer them, it will be hard. It will be hard to get someone to take a chance on you, but you have to use your words and your skills to say, hey, I know I majored in philosophy, but guess what I did in philosophy? We also studied the consumer mind. So I know that if you show this ad 4 times in this amount of time, they're most likely to buy. You have to use the skills you learn to convince the people to hire you to make money for them. It sounds harder than it sounds easier than it is, because I know I've been there before, but it's easier.
But it's not
Yes,
impossible. It's like,
it's not impossible. I'm trying to say it's easier said than done, but it's not impossible. And what I really want to say is be a storyteller, but I know that a lot of people aren't a lot of people have social anxiety, they're not built for that, but that's where your cover letter comes from. Convince them to get you in the door, and once you're in the door, you can do the rest of the work.
yeah. And sometimes it's also about getting in the door that's like the easiest door for you to get into first.
Actually.
It's like, don't try the hardest door. Like, go where your skill sets are aligned and then navigate your way. There's a lot of skill sets that are transferable. Doesn't even
Yeah,
have
like
to be with your dream
don't
company. Yeah.
exactly. My dream company is I love Shutterstock. Do I know it's my dream company? I don't know, but I do love working here. Like
Yeah.
I'm ever evolving. And like Ben said, start slower. Like if you want to reach out to somebody on net on LinkedIn and ask them about if they have any internships open, don't start with the CEO. Start with a coordinator, start with a production assistant, start with someone who can actually get you to where
Get a
you want to
coffee
go.
with them. Yeah.
Yeah, because they will be the people who vet you anyway. Like when I was interning at Shutterstock, Taylor, who reports into me, she was the first person to interview me. They were like, we want to know if she even wants to work with you before we go ahead. So just be mindful of that. No one's too small to talk to or get you into a place.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. Absolutely. And also when you start to have backgrounds that are not exactly the same as the skill sets that you or as the job, that's actually when beautiful things happen.
Yeah.
Like if you study marketing and go to marketing and stay within one track, that's okay. But also if you have like this thing and then you move into marketing, that's cool. That's like that becomes this intersection that's unique.
Yeah.
Um, Great. Melissa says, hey, Melissa, she says, Jazz, I really appreciate you sharing your journey, especially the moments when you spoke about challenge of attempting several times to get in the internship MTV. In a culture where resilience often feels diminished, what words of wisdom would you share to encourage others to remain resilient when facing difficulties? Good question.
Mm, that is a great question. And I have a very generic, very generic answer because it always worked for me. Is there's not going to be another you. And I have to remind myself, I'm like, nobody can do what I do. Even if they're better, no one can do it the way I can do it. I deserve to be here. Imposter syndrome is so real. It is so real, but everybody starts from the literal bottom. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. He was a loser, had no friends, and now he's a billionaire. I
Yeah.
mean, he still doesn't have any friends, but
Questionable.
just
Yeah, I was going to say questionable if he has friends, but yeah.
especially if he has friends. But you have to believe in yourself when nobody else does. And I will not say stay in a place that is unhealthy or damaging to your mental health, but you also have to learn how to pick your battles because climbing through this corporate world, this fashion world, this art world, this journalism world, you're gonna have to get a couple scrapes and bruises. And I don't mean that literally. I mean, sometimes you have to put your head down and do the hard work. Like when I was an intern for NBTV, the one that only paid us in Metro cards, I was up from 6 to 6 working on music videos, but all of that experience led me to my internship at MTV, which
Yeah.
led me on to where I am now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta say, you know what, this sucks, but I have a goal in my head.
Yeah.
I'm not saying be abused or stay when things are
There's
bad, but I'm
there's a
saying pick.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a thing. Pick a battle,
Yeah.
and some will be more challenging than others. Keep a journal,
Yeah.
and as far as I think I saw this in the chat and I'll tie it in with this, as far as finding mentors and people who can, hold you accountable and give you feedback, look in your network now. You're maybe a mom's friend or your older sister or cousin's friend, someone who's already in the world. And it doesn't matter if they're not at a company you like, they have insight on how to navigate a world you have never breached. And that
Yeah.
could be very helpful.
Yeah, try it also. Like you may be like, oh, I don't want to work in healthcare tech or something like that. But you don't know. Like you don't know. Just go give it a shot, and see, just take the opportunities that exist for you that are somewhat kind of close to getting you in the direction. Not, it's not going to stick, it's not going to force you into a track that you don't like. You can always jump tracks afterwards.
Oh,
But just
right.
building some of those skill sets. Yeah. And
Yes.
gosh, there was something I was going to say about that, but just blanked out. Oh, the thing I was going to say is that, when those hard moments, that's when everybody else wants to jump ship, right?
Mhm.
So instead of feeling like, oh, this is a moment that I don't want to do this, I don't feel like pushing through, and I'm not talking about just like one hard night. I'm talking about you might have, 3 months where it's long nights because the company is going through something that's difficult, right? Those are the moments that everybody else is going to jump ship. And
Mhm.
if you can, stick it through, you actually have an opportunity to really shine. And it's not that somebody's going to afterwards be like, oh, they're willing to do it, I'm going to take advantage of them in the future. There are situations like that. Those are the times you shouldn't stay. But, those are usually times where you have an opportunity to shine,
I
and
agree with that.
kind of like stand out from the rest. Let's see. Do you ever feel this is kind of similar? Emily asked, I'm going to try to get to two more questions, so we'll try to speed through these. Do you ever feel like there was a lot of pressure put on you in your job, especially with the big companies? How did you manage that?
Oh God, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Especially being that social is not a organic social isn't a revenue generation stream of like income for the company. There is also pressure for you to perform well, even though you're not bringing them money. Why is our engagement rate low? Why is Duolingo have 1 million views versus us? I'm like, well, they have a bird in a suit. Do you want to be a non-mascot that we have in a suit? You don't. So I think for me, if it wasn't for my boss, I think that the pressure would have been more intense. But luckily for me, I am on a team where we all support each other no matter how much pressure is coming from leadership. And I love my leadership. This is not Shutterstock specific. This is company general. Like every company I've worked in, there's always been pressure to hit a deadline, hit a deadline, hit a deadline. And some days I grind it out, but other days I'm like, this is not Grey's Anatomy. I am not saving lives. I can take a 5 minute coffee break and rejigger my brain and come back.
Yeah,
I
it helps.
certain roles you have to remember, like, I'm not saving lives. I'm about to put out a meme. Let me calm down. It's
Yeah,
just as
exactly.
simple as that.
It's too much pressure sometimes, right? Yeah.
It is so much pressure. And the more you become senior leadership in your career, you can start to like put your foot down. Like when I was younger, coming up into internships, coming up, I would not consider myself in a leadership position until I became a senior manager. And all up until then, I would say, yes, okay. I will give my opinion and say, hey, because I know how this works, this is what I'll say. They might take it, they might leave it. But now that I'm in a leadership position, I can say, hey, as the SME, the subject matter expert, I suggest we do it this way. I recommend, never force or anything, but perseverance. That's all I'll say. Perseverance will keep you under from crushing under pressure.
Yeah.
And again, just remind yourself, you're not a rocket scientist. You're also not a neurologist. You're not saving lives here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Yeah,
remind
I
yourself
think that
that.
that helps to remember sometimes. Just take a breather, take a walk around the block, right?
Mhm.
And I think the hard part as a manager, especially, is to not let the pressure above, like to filter, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to
Yes.
just channel that energy down to your team because you just got, a lot of pressure. You want to figure out like, okay, I got a lot of pressure. How do I now like translate that to my team in a way that's effective for them? And that
Mhm.
can be kind of one of the challenging things to learn how to manage. Probably one more question here, but I like this one from Sophia. How important is it to build your reputation within the industry? And also, how do you bounce back from opportunities that didn't reflect you in the best light?
Mm. Can you repeat the first part of the
Yeah,
question?
how important is it
And
to
that's
build your
one.
reputation within the industry? Uh,
Mhm.
and how do you bounce back from opportunities that didn't reflect you in the best light?
Excellent. So I'll start with the first one, how to build your reputation community. Ben mentioned this before, but if you can get one person in your corner in any job or any company, it will give you the confidence to do your job the way you need to. When I was a PA, first of all, when I was an intern at 2020, I all the interns met our EP of 2020 at the time, David Sloan. And everyone was so afraid to sit next to him in the conference room. I plopped right down next to him. That
Yeah,
guy became my best guy ever for my whole career at ABC. He literally let me leave to work at A&E for 9 months to work on a special project with an old friend of his, and then brought me back to ABC.
yeah,
Since I was an intern, he was like, I like that girl. Let's hire her. 2 months into my internship, I got the job as a PA. So
yeah.
you have to find
And
find
probably
someone.
because you sat next to him. Like,
I did. I was like, "Hi, David
Really?
Sloan, I'm Jazz." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Everyone else is so scared." Not me.
Yeah.
Like, and it was subtle. It wasn't anything aggressive. It was just a large room, and he was sitting here. Everyone was 10 feet away. I bridged the gap.
Yeah.
So I think bridging the gap, doing good work, and even if you did work and it wasn't the best, say, hey, I'm sorry this didn't come out this way. Can you show me how to do it better next time? Always be open to learning and how to change things, even if you think you make a mistake. And that will build your reputation of being a hard worker and someone they can depend on.
Hmm.
Now, the second part of the question, if you weren't shown in the best light.
Let's take an example that like somebody did an internship and then they like didn't go well, they got let go or they quit halfway through or something like now what, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say you probably didn't do as bad as you think you did. Usually, the pressure from above that trickles down is no reflection on you, and you should remember that. And also, I know people ask this question usually because when they go into internship, they say, "So, what happened at your last place? Can we get a reference?" And you're like, "Actually, I don't want to give a reference to this place. It wasn't great." You can just say, "Oh, we just say, oh, that internship went this way, but someone who worked there is no longer available." I don't know. You don't have to lie, but that would be my answer because in my career now, no one really checks references when you get above, but as an intern, they will check you out. I would be honest and say, hey, this wasn't my best internship, but I've grown from this. But I do have other references who can vouch for me. Always have another reference in your background, not your mom, not your favorite cousin.
Oh,
Find someone who you've coached with, someone who you've talked to on LinkedIn, and say, hey, you've been working with me and mentoring me for a while. Can you be a reference for me for this? Because of X, Y, and Z in history.
yeah.
Um, because you're so young, um, there's always room for mistakes. I've screwed up in a lot of jobs, but I've always held my ground and said, hey, I'm so sorry that happened. I want to do better next time. Can you show me this? Or if it ended and I left, I would say I learned a valuable lesson at this workplace, and this is what I can offer you now. And
Yeah.
I know it's really hard to be honest, but a lot of people do like that. They'd rather you be upfront than find out later that, they think you're a snake in the grass.
Yeah, that's right. I remember hiring somebody specifically because she was like, I was like, what happened? You know, why are you leaving your current job? She was like, I got fired actually, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, I like that. Thank you for telling me. And then like went and found out why. It turned out it wasn't her fault. And, you know, really. And then I was like, you're hired, for being honest. You know, I like that quality. And I think also, I know we're over time here, so I'm going to end it in just a minute. But I think also, you know, there is something about, you know, in the early stages of your career, it can be harder in some ways because you don't yet like if the internship is your first foot in and then that doesn't go well, it means you kind of got to start over again. You got to be like, okay, now I got to go find another internship that's going to do me well so that I can start to build that experience, right? Like people do want to see a track record. They want to see that you have some experiences to build from. Um, so, you know, that's something that you can you know, you have to think about like if you know, if you're really hating an internship and you're like, I want to quit, like, you know, you're gonna probably have to go and start from scratch again and start another internship to get your career started, right? As opposed to just, you know, riding out another month and just then being able to leverage those contacts and leverage that experience.
And
But it's not the end of the world, you know.
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. You can do it. Like I think everybody's had career mistakes and things and you know, you just gotta kind of swallow your pride, learn from it. It can hurt, you know, it can hurt, but then you know, you stand back up from that and you say, okay, that didn't quite work out the way I thought it was gonna. Let me try again, you know.
It
And
has
later in your
ups and
career,
downs, but
yeah.
I just know that I have a vision for how I want my life and my career to go, and I never let whatever happens sway that. So just remember where you want to go, and even if you don't know where you want to go, you know how you want to feel when you get there. So just keep that in your mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. I know we didn't get to all questions because this was just a really good discussion. And you know, usually I leave a lot more time for questions, but this has been really interesting. I love chatting with you. So
So
yeah, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm
far.
gonna leave here also like our our website in case you want to check that out. LinkedIn, yes, Sophia, I'm popping it in the chat right now. Love it.
Yes,
So
please find
popping
me
in
on
Jazz's
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, popping in my LinkedIn, like
And if
hit
it won't let
connect.
you add me, send me a message and then I'll connect you because I have it where certain connections can't request me.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, so add us on LinkedIn, connect with us, shoot us a message. And also thank you everybody so much for showing up. I really appreciate it. This was great. Yeah. And
Awesome.
thanks,
Thanks,
Jess. I
guys.
really appreciate your time. You've been awesome and always good to see you.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks, guys, and have
Yeah.
a great week. And please send me questions on LinkedIn if you have any outstanding ones.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye. I'm gonna stop the recording.